There is a place on Earth where mountains rise so high they pierce the jet stream, where glaciers older than human civilization continue to shape entire continents, and where vast valleys remain so remote that few people will ever set foot inside them. Stretching across thousands of kilometers and spanning multiple countries, the Himalayas are far more than the highest mountain range on the planet. They are one of Earth's last great wildernesses, a realm where nature still dictates the rules, where survival is never guaranteed, and where the forces that created this landscape are still at work today. Despite satellites orbiting overhead and modern technology mapping much of the world, the Himalayas continue to guard countless secrets. Hidden valleys, isolated peaks, ancient glaciers, and rugged mountain passes remain among the most inaccessible places on Earth. Here, weather can change within minutes, towering cliffs block entire regions from easy access, and the sheer scale of the landscape reminds us how small humanity truly is. For centuries, explorers, scientists, mountaineers, and pilgrims have been drawn to these mountains, yet much of this vast wilderness remains remarkably untouched. The story of the Himalayas began around 50 million years ago, when the Indian tectonic plate slowly collided with the Eurasian plate. Neither landmass yielded easily. Instead, the immense pressure forced the Earth's crust upward, creating a mountain range unlike anything the world had ever seen. Even today, that collision has not ended. The Himalayas continue to rise by a few millimeters each year, while powerful earthquakes occasionally remind the world that the forces beneath these mountains remain active. Few places on Earth reveal the immense power of geology as dramatically as the Himalayas. The result of this collision was not simply a chain of mountains but an entire world of extremes. The Himalayas stretch for more than 2,400 kilometers, forming a natural barrier between the Indian subcontinent and the Tibetan Plateau. Within this immense landscape stand many of the highest peaks on Earth, including the world's tallest mountain, Mount Everest. Yet towering summits are only one part of the story. Beneath them lie deep river gorges, ancient forests, alpine meadows, frozen glaciers, and windswept high-altitude deserts, each supporting its own unique ecosystem. What makes the Himalayas truly extraordinary is the astonishing variety of environments packed into a relatively narrow region. At lower elevations, warm forests are filled with towering trees, colorful birds, and rushing rivers. As the mountains climb higher, these forests gradually give way to cool pine woodlands, flowering alpine meadows, rocky cliffs, and eventually vast landscapes of snow and ice where life becomes increasingly scarce. Within a single journey, it is possible to travel through climates that resemble the tropics, temperate forests, and the Arctic. This dramatic transition creates one of the richest natural landscapes on Earth. Every increase in altitude transforms the environment, forcing plants and animals to adapt in remarkable ways. In the next part of this journey, we'll venture deeper into these hidden ecosystems to discover the elusive wildlife, ancient glaciers, and mighty rivers that make the Himalayas not only the roof of the world, but one of the most important wildernesses sustaining life across an entire continent. As the forests fade and the air grows thinner, the Himalayas reveal a world unlike any other. At altitudes where breathing becomes difficult and temperatures plunge far below freezing, life does not disappear, it adapts. Hidden among steep cliffs and snow-covered ridges lives one of the world's most elusive predators, the snow leopard. Perfectly camouflaged against the rocky landscape, it can move silently across near vertical terrain with astonishing agility. So secretive is this magnificent animal that even researchers may spend months in the mountains without seeing one in the wild. The snow leopard is only one of countless species that call the Himalayas home. Himalayan wolves patrol the high valleys, while musk deer, Himalayan tahr, and blue sheep navigate dangerous cliffs with remarkable balance. Lower down, dense forests shelter the rare red panda, Himalayan black bears, and vibrant Himalayan monals, whose brilliant feathers flash like jewels against the green mountainsides. High above them all, golden eagles soar effortlessly on rising air currents, scanning the valleys below for prey. Together, these species form one of the most extraordinary mountain ecosystems on Earth, where survival depends on strength, adaptation, and resilience. Yet the Himalayas are not only a sanctuary for wildlife, they are also the source of life for much of Asia. Often called the Water Tower of Asia, these mountains contain thousands of glaciers that store enormous quantities of fresh water. Every spring and summer, Melting snow and ice feed some of the continent's greatest rivers, including the Ganges, Indus, Brahmaputra, Yangtze, and Mekong. These rivers travel thousands of kilometers, providing drinking water, irrigation, transportation, and hydroelectric power to well over a billion people. In many ways, the future of entire civilizations depends on the snow and ice locked within these mountains. But surviving in the Himalayas is never easy. Oxygen levels at extreme altitudes can fall to nearly half of those at sea level, making even simple movements exhausting. Temperatures can plunge dramatically within hours, while violent snowstorms, avalanches, rockfalls, and landslides constantly reshape the landscape. Every year, experienced climbers and trekkers are reminded that these mountains demand absolute respect. Here, nature always has the final word. Even modern technology cannot fully overcome these challenges. Helicopters struggle in the thin air, communication can be unreliable in remote valleys, and rescue operations often become races against time. Scientists studying glaciers, wildlife, and climate frequently spend weeks trekking through rugged terrain simply to reach locations that satellites cannot fully examine. The Himalayas remain one of the few places on Earth where geography still limits human exploration. Yet these mountains continue to reward those who study them. Hidden valleys preserve rare ecosystems found nowhere else, while newly discovered species occasionally remind researchers that the Himalayas still hold biological secrets waiting to be uncovered. Every expedition expands our understanding of one of the planet's most remarkable natural frontiers. But this ancient wilderness now faces challenges unlike any in its history. As temperatures rise and glaciers begin to retreat, scientists warn that the future of the Himalayas, and the billions of people who depend upon them, may be entering a period of profound change. In the final part of this documentary, we'll explore why protecting the Himalayas has become one of the greatest environmental challenges of the 21st century, and why the fate of these mountains could shape the future of an entire continent. For millions of years, the Himalayas have stood as one of Earth's greatest natural fortresses. They have survived powerful earthquakes, relentless erosion, and countless ice ages, shaping the geography and climate of an entire continent. But today, this ancient wilderness faces a challenge unlike anything in its geological history, one driven not by nature alone, but by human activity. Scientists have observed that many Himalayan glaciers are retreating at an accelerating rate as global temperatures rise. These glaciers act as enormous natural reservoirs, storing freshwater that is gradually released into rivers throughout the year. If this delicate balance changes, the consequences could extend far beyond the mountains themselves. Increased glacier melt may initially raise river levels and the risk of flooding, but over the long term, shrinking ice reserves could reduce the steady flow of water that millions of farms, cities, and ecosystems depend upon. The changing climate is also transforming the mountains in other ways. Unpredictable weather patterns, heavier rainfall in some regions, prolonged droughts in others, and an increasing number of landslides and glacial lake outburst floods are reshaping fragile landscapes that have remained relatively stable for centuries. Wildlife adapted to narrow temperature ranges is being forced to move higher in search of suitable habitat, yet there is only so much mountain left to climb. For many species, survival is becoming increasingly uncertain. Despite these challenges, the Himalayas remain one of the least disturbed wilderness regions on Earth. Vast stretches of rugged terrain still have no permanent roads. Deep valleys remain isolated for months each year by snow and landslides, while many remote areas receive only a handful of scientific expeditions. Researchers continue to discover new plant species, insects, amphibians, and microorganisms, proving that the Himalayas still hold countless biological mysteries waiting to be explored. But the significance of these mountains extends far beyond science. For thousands of years, the Himalayas have inspired civilizations, religions, and cultures. They have been revered as sacred landscapes, the birthplace of mighty rivers, and symbols of endurance, humility, and spiritual reflection. Their towering peaks have challenged explorers, while their remote monasteries and ancient trails have attracted pilgrims seeking peace in one of the most awe-inspiring environments on Earth. Perhaps that is what makes the Himalayas so extraordinary. They are not simply the highest mountains on the planet. They are a living system where geology, climate, wildlife, water, and human history are deeply interconnected. Every glacier feeds a river. Every forest shelters unique life. Every mountain influences weather patterns that affect countries thousands of kilometers away. Few places on Earth demonstrate the delicate balance of nature so clearly. In an age when cities continue to expand and technology reaches almost every corner of the globe, the Himalayas remind us that true wilderness still exists. There are still places where nature sets the rules, where silence is broken only by the wind, flowing rivers, or the distant call of a golden eagle. They are among the last landscapes where humanity remains a visitor rather than the dominant force. The Himalayas are more than a mountain range. They are the roof of the world, the water tower of Asia, a sanctuary for extraordinary wildlife, and one of Earth's final great wildernesses. Protecting them is not simply about preserving breathtaking scenery, it is about safeguarding the natural systems that sustain life for hundreds of millions of people. Because if these mountains change, the effects will not remain confined to their snow-covered peaks. They will flow downstream, shaping the future of an entire continent and reminding us that even the greatest wilderness on Earth is not beyond our responsibility.